Hi, I hope you're all doing well. I thought I'd just make this video about how to look at the twin flame mirror to heal ourselves. So how do we do this exactly? Well, basically we look to anything that's triggering us. When we feel triggered by our twin flame's actions or lack of action or lack of communication or anything like that, anything that makes us feel wounded or we take it personally. The way to heal ourselves from that is to realize that when we are triggered, it's often because we feel our twin flame's actions are somehow taking something away from us. If only my twin flame would do this or that differently, then I would be happy. They would be giving me what I want. So look to what's triggering you and then look deeper to try and see what you feel that's taking away from you. And that's the very thing that you need to give to yourself and work on providing for yourself to create your own wholeness. Because it is not your twin flame's responsibility to make you whole. It's our own responsibility for our own wholeness and our own love and joy and passion in life. The second way to look to the twin flame mirror to heal yourself and the connection is to look at the areas where you can see your twin flame is struggling. For example, is your twin flame struggling to be their authentic selves? And then, take out your journal or a piece of paper and then try to write down all the ways in which you struggle to be authentic yourself. So, for example, you could write out all the ways that you are hiding your truth or hiding who you are. So with family, you could realize that you're hiding yourself by not expressing your emotions. That would be a personal example for myself. Or if you're afraid to show your spiritual truth in any ways. I mean, we don't have to be totally authentic in terms of spilling our guts to everyone who crosses our path. But if there's some kind of internal conflict within yourself, for example with family, if you feel that there's unresolved things where, for example, again, you feel like you cannot be your true self because you feel like you're not accepted, or you feel like being yourself creates judgments from family or people around you, and it really just doesn't sit well with you, and you still have this fear of being your truth because you're going to take it personally. If other people judge you for it, then that is a primary example as to why you're seeing the reflection of that within your twin flame. You can see your twin flame experiencing the same struggles. So you may both have fears of being truly authentic when it counts, fears of being judged, but it may be playing out in slightly different ways. So if we are really wanting a truly, deeply healing, we really have to put in the time and effort to go about that. This isn't just about reflecting for about 2 or 3 minutes thinking, oh, my twin flame struggles with this and that's reflecting me in this way. If you're really serious about doing the healing work, then you've got to put more effort in than that. And I would suggest writing it all down, like writing down all of these reflections, all the things that you feel like you struggle with, within yourself and your own life, and then try and see how that's reflected in your twin flame as well. So kind of like the other way around, looking into your wounds and seeing how it's reflecting within them. And often you will notice that it comes down to the same core wounding, the same core issues. So if you write down all these wounds and how they're reflecting, you also have like future reference that you can go back to continue with your healing work. Often we can experience extreme resistance to doing this healing work. We can really procrastinate. We can know what we need to do for the healing or hear about techniques for healing, but then we don't actually do it. And we think that just understanding like the technique is going to help some way. And there can be a part of us that thinks, oh, time will just solve everything. It'll all work out eventually. So we procrastinate and we put off doing the deep core healing. And often this is like the ego resisting. And there's like an internal battle, there's a struggle. We're afraid to delve deeply into ourselves. We're afraid of that incredibly uncomfortable feeling within us, that resistance, the inner resistance. It is incredibly uncomfortable. And we do kind of have to force ourselves and motivate ourselves to do this healing work. There's a fear of discovering our wounds again and like sifting through our wounds, especially to do with anything coming up about us feeling unworthy and unlovable and not receiving love. And all things like that, all the negative beliefs, all the negative self-talk, the negative self-image and everything. The ego likes to hold on to its identity, but the ego identity is our false identity. So the procrastination is partly the ego just trying to hold on to this false sense of self, i.e. all the wounding and illusions and the belief that we're unworthy and all things like that. So we do sometimes have to really just force ourselves to get through that uncomfortable stage so that we can really begin dissolving all of those illusions. Do you have any kind of addictions that you haven't fully been realizing that you've been using to subconsciously step out of your stress or your emotional pain, or to try and just subconsciously avoid going inwards? A lot of time addictions are just a way to try and escape ourselves, escape the wounding sometimes. But you know, the best way is to really go inwards and face it. And yes, it is a lot easier said than done. And I know from my own experience that I've heard about, you know, and known about healing techniques, but I've put it off sometimes for years. And it can really like slow down the process. It really is about facing that intensely uncomfortable feeling. And often, once you actually sit down and get into it, it's a lot easier, and you uncover these insights a lot easier as well than what you imagined. It can seem like it's going to be this major struggle, but actually, when you get into it and start actually writing things down, you begin to see patterns, you begin to notice things, and you have this clarity. And then it doesn't seem like this big like shadow side, you know, in the dark, confusing, not knowing what you're doing, knowing where you're going. It becomes, you're literally like shedding light on it, and it becomes a lot more clearer. You can see things in a more linear kind of way. And yeah, it's just a lot easier than you may imagine.